with our original mission, which is to continue lobbying the Canadian government to legitimize us. But one of the wins in the Canadian industry is that Newfoundland got it done, right? So Arts NL, they now allow comedians to apply for grants through the province under multidisciplinary, and that's been up for about the past year. So there's stuff that can happen on the provincial level. We're still going to continue to go towards the federal level, and that's why we're creating authority pieces like the white paper, why we're trying to build up this campaign. And as the year goes on, we would love to have more and more involvement. So if you're looking for volunteer opportunities, listen about board openings, listen about the ambassador program. There's lots of ways to get involved, lots of ways to help our personal professional education as well through the webinars coming up. So there's a lot of things to get involved in. Some of the chit chat you might have heard before we kicked off the EGM today. We're talking about, yes, the CBC Canadian Chamber of Commerce report that dropped yesterday about the $65 billion that arts and culture generates in Canada overall. That's 8%, and Canada itself is 4%. So every $1 of public investment in arts generates $29 in economic activity. That's pretty dope. And us as frontliners got to start kind of considering how do we bolster our own personal authority as freelancers. And that is one of the things that we'll have a lot of wiggle room as we start to partner with and discuss more with the members of CFU, right? They are the Canadian Freelance Union. They are professional freelancers that are looking to leverage their own authority the same way as us as comedy performers. So there's a lot of synergy happening within the organization, which is great. And actually, today we just had news drop. What's that? Is someone menacingly whispering at me right now? Anyone else hear that, or am I just envisioning things? Okay, cool. Oh, all right, we'll try it on. Yeah, so Blink 49 Studios and Yuck Yucks announced a joint venture today to develop live stand-up pop-up events into original digital content, and this is backed by Fifth Season and Bell Media. So this is major capital entering our space, which is very interesting because people that want to consider Canada a dead industry, the stats clearly show that it's not, right? When we look at the commerce, there's lots of wiggle room and lots of future ahead. But you have to understand that federal arts funding as a whole has been slipping. It's only got $6 million over the last 3 years, which is significantly less than usual, and that is a post-pandemic response. So something to keep in mind as we're looking at the continuous issues with U.S. tariffs and that kind of stuff. The U.S. touring problem continues to be an issue, being able to get into U.S. markets. I'm going to be back later talking about the U.S. visa stuff, and I will try not to get too nerdy about it. It's kind of weird, but like there's a lot of information to pass through. But I'm going to tell you what we know and where we're at because we just want to be very transparent on this AGM and give you as much information as possible. And you can always look back at this recording if you want to be reminded about what we talked about. So right now, we don't really have frameworks for comedy IP the same way that musicians do with publishing deals, royalties, sync licensing, and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot to be desired for the career ladder in Canada still. But what we are doing as an organization is we're going to be pushing comedy as an art form, continuing to our original promise of getting this legitimized across Canada. We are going to be looking at opening a potential US chapter launch. There are some obstacles. We aren't fully sure if we're able to stick the landing. So we're going to talk about that and talk about some of our concerns and some of the potential red flags, or maybe just things that we have to learn to work around. We're going to be talking about the CFU partnership expansion, right? There's more benefits and access and protection available to you. So in the Q&A section, if you have any questions for CFU specifically, we have Raul and Matt here, and they would be more than happy to answer any questions you have there. We have already done 2 webinars. Robert's going to be talking more about webinar series going forward and what we can be doing. And we're going to be reinvigorating the ambassadors program. So one of the main messages that I really want to get through in this AGM is, if we're answering the question from last year of what is real, well, Cask is real, and we're asking what is leverage. Well, let's start with Cask. Leverage your organization, leverage your membership, leverage your ability to volunteer if you're able to. Ask questions. Don't work in a silo, and reach out, whether it's for creative partnerships or just to touch base, to ask questions, be curious. This is a time where we're going to have to really rely on our relationships and our DIY efforts. We're a volunteer organization. So I know from my end, I'm just very thankful to our board. We have a very hardworking board. They all give a shit. And giving a shit is really awesome in 2026 when so many people are apathetic. So I just personally want to say thank you so much to the board. I see your hard work. Y'all have been absolutely crushing it, and I'm so excited that we have new members. So I am going to welcome Robert and Rohini, and I'm going to let them tell you a bit about themselves, and then yeah, if y'all want to end up bringing it to the next person in the agenda, and then we will just kind of domino it that way. But yes, that's my portion done. And I did it in less than 20 minutes. Okay. So that's not bad for me. Thank you. Okay.
Fabulous, Cliff. And so you want Rohini and I to just introduce ourselves?
Yes, absolutely.
Rohini, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? What would you?
Yeah, I can go first. That
Okay,
sounds good.
please do, please do.
Awesome. Okay, so I just wanted to start off by saying how happy I am to be here today. I recently joined Casc as the funding officer, and I've been spending time ramping up over the past few months. And I can tell you that I'm super excited about the year ahead. Now, a bit about me. I come from a background in technology and entrepreneurship. I am co-founder of Two Monkeys and a Computer, a design agency in the GTA, and I've been in comedy for over a decade. So I've actually spent a lot of time navigating through the foreground and the background, the creative and the technical. Now, in terms of the comedy, I started my journey back in the day performing in my parents' basement for friends and occasionally falling off stage in front of my classmates during assemblies. And as an adult, I decided to get back on stage and try out improv. And I studied in Mississauga and Toronto at Second City. And then from there, I decided to reconnect with my inner youth and get back on stage doing stand up, but this time not in front of friends in my parents' basement. I ended up performing in clubs all around Toronto and surrounding cities. And I've, over the years, also written and filmed sketches along the way. So that's been a lot of fun. Now, what really drew me to Cask is the opportunity to help build something that supports Canadian comedians in a more structured and sustainable way. A lot of us are figuring things out as we go. And I know that from experience. Sometimes it can be kind of a struggle. You're trying to figure things out. But I do believe that there is real value in creating better access to opportunities, resources, and a stronger sense of community. So one of the things that it's really exciting we're working on right now is a member survey that will be going out soon. And our goal is to better understand our members, your experience, the kind of work that you do, and the opportunities that you're interested in. And through this, we're working to build a clearer picture of our community so that when other opportunities come up, such as whether it could be a corporate gig or an event, we can be more thoughtful about connecting the right people. So I do ask, when you see the survey come through, if you could just take a few moments to fill that out, we would really appreciate that, and it would help us fulfill that goal. And other than that, I just wanted to again say how happy I am to be a part of all this, and I'm really looking forward to working with you all. Thanks. That's all, Robert.
Oh gosh, I should have gone first. That was so articulate. I have to follow that now. Oh my goodness. Okay, but I'll try. I'll try. Hi everyone. My name's Robert Watson, and I've been pursuing comedy for I think about 9 years now. And I'm probably best known. You've probably seen me be annoying online about gay AF comedy. That is the one of the comedy brands that I run, based out of Toronto, but have toured nationally. And I am on the board, been appointed as secretary. So I know I have a few people who are here tonight who I've been on tour with, and they know I'm organized. That's where I got put to helping out the board on a weekly or monthly level as secretary. But beyond comedy for 9 years, I actually have a 2-decade background in the world of theater, specifically in Toronto. And coming from the world of theater, I like to say that I speak fluent theater, which I think is something that I can offer to the board and offer to Casc. To help with exactly what Cliff was saying about leverage. Cliff, I loved everything you were saying about leverage, because everything that I do in my career, I try to leverage towards something else. So hearing you talk about that on a macro level of what we can do as comedians and as an organization to build that leverage for ourselves is fantastic. One of the things that I bring with me with my theater background is a knowledge of the different sister organizations or sibling organizations that exist in Canada, such as, it was mentioned, the Canadian Arts Coalition. We'll touch on that in a little bit. And then other organizations like PAC, Professional Association of Canadian Theatres, Canadian Actors Equity, ACTRA. These are all organizations that we should be building relationships with and building these folks as allies to get to that goal of getting comedy recognized as art. And I feel that as we gather all of these groups, that I don't see why they wouldn't agree. So many of us are members of these other organizations as well. These are people that I think are ripe to leverage to support us to attaining that goal of getting comedy recognized on a national level as an art form. In the meantime, I would also like to help crack the code on working with current granting structures that we are already working within. I know that that is a point of contention for a lot of us. It's like, it seems like a mystery about, like, how do we as comedians, they say, yes, you're allowed to apply, but no, we're not prioritizing you. How can we work within those structures to get ourselves funded in the meantime for the different projects that we do? And that's something that I'll be wanting to revisit, and you'll probably hear more from me on that in the future. And then the last thing I want to say as well is I also want to speak, like Rohini said, in support of this board that is working very hard on behalf of comedians, and it is a volunteer board. So it is great to see that there's passion behind that. If you are someone who believes that comedy deserves a fairer shake than we're getting, this is the place to start. I encourage anyone who's not here as a member, to consider joining as a member, because there are definitely things coming down the pipeline, and definitely even just access to the different resources that we have online that make membership worth it. And we'll also the CFU portion of what it does for us in regards to benefits, insurance, things that freelancers we don't necessarily have access to. We now have access to as being members of the Canadian Freelance Union. So I just want to say thank you very much to the board. I'm so glad to be a member of these folks. It's a fun meeting every month. So I'm really glad to be a part of this group and do some work towards all of our goals that we have as a comedy industry. And thank you, and I'll send it on back to you, Cliff.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Welcome, Robert and Rahini. That was great. You were both eloquent. Wonderful. So now we're going to have a financial update from Amy. Amy OG.
I think it's from Joe. It's
from Joe. I was just kidding.
Okay.
Is it from Joe?
Well, financial update. Hello, everybody. Hi. Hi. So the financial update is going to come in a couple days with the budget. It is something that we were just in the process of finishing, which dovetails right into the next part of where we need extra people on the board, such as treasurer. So the budget that for 2020.
Let me talk to you a little later. Okay?
Yes, please.
Simon.
Please do, Simon. Please do, Simon.
If everybody could just mute themselves as well, if everybody could mute themselves when they're not speaking, that would be great.
StreamYard, baby. So the budget, the 2026-2027 budget, is just in the process of being finished. Once it is finished, it will be sent out to members of Casc so they can vote on it and get quorum on it. If there's something you guys don't agree with, you can come back with. It's all full transparency. We want to make sure that our funds are going in the right places and are serving our members for the right things that they want us to do. So by Friday, this should be in your inbox, paid members. And if it is not, I will make sure to tell you if it's not coming, but it shall be on Friday. So it says dovetails into our next part where, yes, we do need a treasurer on the board. And this is also the part where I say I promise I won't cry, but it's with a heavy heart that I say that I'll be stepping off of the Casc board as VP. So we will need a first VP or someone stepping up to be first VP. It has been almost 10 years now that I have started and created, move this association forward. It is very much my baby. And like any baby, you have to let it go and grow sometimes and let it be by itself. And I can't be more confident that the parents that I'm leaving it with, because they are all passionate, love and care for the cast that I helped create. And having Robert and Rohini come on has given me just that more confidence that I'm able to step away and know that it will continue growing in the right direction. It's not an easy decision for me. It really isn't. Like any mom doesn't want to let their kid go, but I'm not letting her go. I'm just letting her grow because mommy has brought her to this point, and now you can go and get bigger and better. So with that, I thank you everyone on the board that I have with me for supporting me through these last few years. It hasn't been easy, and I appreciate just the non-judgment and the love. And going forward, I know Cass is just going to go 10-4 mold. And I always said it would take us 10 years to get to the first spot, and it almost took us actually 7 years. We're well in advance of the plan that I thought where Cass would be. So on that point, I'm very happy. So to bring it back out of the emotions, I just want to say again that yes, the budget will be sent to members by Friday, where you can vote on yes or no. If you have questions, please send them up and we'll be happy to answer it. So with that awesome news, I give you all to Amy, who will talk about the white paper, which is another great, amazing thing happening for comedians. And I think it's something that comedians really need to understand what it would mean for them in the process.
Sorry, just very quickly, before you go there, Amy, I just want to say a quick word, just how appreciative we are for Joe's involvement since the beginning, one of the pioneers. Okay, and Joe's had a major vision for this organization. There's been a lot of people in the past that have put their blood, sweat, and tears in this thing, and no one more than Joe. Okay, Joe has been a part of the technical back end of the infrastructure, the foundational settings, and really has set up the foundation that we're going to build upon, and it's going to be living far beyond any of us that are on the board currently, you know? And I just want to say that, like, I love working with you, Joe. I just really fuck with you. You are great to work with. You've taught me to be scared of Scorpio women, and I greatly appreciate your involvement with us. So, just from myself and the board, thank you so much for all you've done. And I think everyone in the community is really appreciative for the efforts you put forward. Thank you so much. All right,
100%
Amy.
agreed. So agreed. And it is very sad for us, but also we really support you in your decision. We know that it's a tough one for you. Um, but like we're also gonna like keep texting you sometimes. So sorry about that.
I'll take them.
Yes. Amazing. So, okay. Well, part of this white paper situation is it goes all the way back to, well, last year, as CFU, we presented a resolution to Unifor, proposed a resolution for their support in helping have comedy recognized as an art form in Canada. And we knew it was actually a long shot for them to support the resolution because there are so many members. There are a lot of resolutions that are proposed, and for it ended up making the floor. For even that to happen is a big win, and then even bigger win that they adopted the resolution. And that's like really exciting, big deal. And then now the kind of first step since that has happened is we were able to ask for Unifor support to create a white paper, and that just creates some research backing up our claim that as comedians, we are like like an important resource to the candidate, to our country, that should be invested in. And so for the past, let's say, like 6 or so months, Sandra Battellini, who is also a researcher, has been working on that with some folks from Unifor in support, and she's conducted some roundtables as well for research, and I'm like pretty blown away by like what they've been able to put together, and I'm really excited to release it, to sort of support this campaign that we have, which is like our Comedy is Art campaign, because it is. Guess what? Newsflash. Okay, so that's our white paper. I don't know who's next though.
I think the next point is about the Canadian Arts Coalition. Am I speaking out of turn?
Robert.
Okay. Oh, okay. So no, you know what? Cliff, introduce me. Say Rob's going to talk about.
Oh,
yeah. Do that.
Y'all, are y'all ready for this? This is gonna blow your mind because we got Robert Watson on the mic, going to be talking about the Canadian Arts Coalition. Hit it, band. Dun, 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 dun.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks for having me here tonight. How's everyone doing? Okay. So the Canadian Arts Coalition, this is something that I brought to the board, and the board has been very excited about, and as am I. So the Canadian Arts Coalition, they are best known for Arts Day on the Hill. You may have heard of this before. This is an event that brings artists from all stripes to Ottawa to meet with politicians, to gather together and to discuss and lobby for different causes. The Canadian Arts Council, or CAC, is a collaborative advocacy organization that lobbies on behalf of the Canadian arts sector and provides tools and education to help better engage with politicians, the federal government, and with granting bodies. And I feel like this particular organization, with the tools that they are offering to members from even a grassroots level, is going to fill in some of the gaps of our knowledge about engaging with government. And right now we are in the outreach stages of talking back and forth with them, and I look forward to reporting back more findings about what it entails for us to be an active member and to be engaging with the Canadian Arts Council. And that's going to probably be the first of some of the different sibling organizations or organizations that are part of our sphere of influence that we'll be approaching over the next year and years to come. But that's all I have on that right now. So I think, Cliff, I throw it back to you, because going from national, we're talking international, I think.
Yes, absolutely. So this is one of the biggest questions that we get all the time, and one of the things that is a constant thorn in the side of Canadian comedians. How do we perform in the US, right? So the visa issues have been a continuous thing. I'm going to be transparent about what we've been doing to try to look at this issue, where we're at on it. We're not at like, oh, I got a great new resolution to tell you or something, but we do have some progress, but we got more progress to be made. I should also make a caveat before I say this. I'm not a lawyer. Yes, I come off super genius smart, but I'm not a lawyer, okay? So we would have to back up anything that we're talking about or looking at with a lawyer at some point. But I can give you a little bit of a once over of what we're looking at. So one of the things that we're really considering is starting a US chapter of Casc. If we are able to start a US chapter of Casc, we would be an entity within the United States that can petition on behalf of comedians. We can literally be sponsors. And what would that look like? We would have to create a process. There would have to be regulations, ways to go through it, and we are a volunteer board. It's quite a big lift to even just think of what we'd have to do it on the structural level to bring it up. But this would be so missional to make happen if we're able to get fees lowered, if we're able to get processes faster. Like this, we're trying to see how we can do this, right? And there's a few questions that we had. So I've reached out, I've talked to some Canadians living in America. We've done some research, reached out to a few different bodies. Some of the people that would be helping us within the US, they would be concerned about liability if it falls on them or the entity. It is our understanding it would fall on the organization. And it is also our understanding that they don't have to be a US citizen. They can be a green card holder and still be a part of the organization. So we would actually have a bit of a list of things that we would need to get done in order to make this happen. We'd have to understand, first of all, the legal structure that we have and how we're going to be represented within the states. Oh, hey, Samara, or is that Sandra? She's going to Samara? Okay, cool. We have to understand the legal structure that would be necessary, and then we'd have to go through a bunch of things for launch, right? So we would have to look at having a formal board, which is a minimum of president, vice president, secretary. We would need a US address with a bank account. We need to do an IRS application. We would have to have internal policies on the vetting criteria and what this looks like, labor union consultations, and we would have to have a relationship with an immigration attorney. So you can see that this is a really big lift, but right now, like even the cost to be able to do this all on your own is around $15,000, and a good 6,000 to 8,000 of that is just the immigration lawyer fees alone. So there's a lot of cost that comes with this individually. Even if we do it through the organization, yeah, we might be able to have more ability to vouch for Canadian performers or have more of a pathway. But that doesn't mean we're going to necessarily be able to keep the costs down. That's something we'd have to look at with yeah, with a lawyer, maybe with Unifor, see what's available to us as an organization, because there's always ways around things, right? So let's say there comes a certain cost. Listen, I think it'd be wonderful if membership could make it easier and cheaper to get into the states. That would be dope for our organization. Like, why wouldn't you want to join us, right? That'd be awesome. But I don't know if we're going to be able to necessarily leverage it that way. But as we're talking about leverage, what can we leverage? Are there grants that we could get on behalf of our organization members, etc.? There's different ways that we can look at funding opportunities, but there's a lot on the plate when it comes to how do we, it's not as simple as, okay, just get 3 people and start the organization. We do need to consult with a lawyer, and we do need to kind of see how we would do this organizationally, but it does look like a lot of it's in our favor, right? That we're not going to have liability fall on individuals, that you can have a green card and do it. So we're going to be able to get board members probably a lot more easier that way. It'd be a lot harder if it was just people with dual citizenship. So this is something that if you have questions about, feel free to save it for the Q&A. But right now, we have done our due diligence in understanding the pathway towards what's necessary for the US, but we do need more consultation. We need legal consultation, and we would like to talk to some of the Unifor and CFU higher ups and just see how we can leverage the organization in our continued research and search for this. But this is something that we're actively looking to try to do, right? In terms of a timeline, one second. What are you saying here, Simon? I thought lobbying for easier access for all through government would be a better solution than individual visas. I mean, like, yes and no. Right now, though, like, even for individual visas, you still need an immigration lawyer per visa, like, per pitch, right? So I don't think we're going to have just some kind of across the board access, right? There still has to be some sort of vouching, vetting process, the way it is for anyone looking to work in the United States. But there's a lot of things you got to be crystal clear on. So, for example, if you're going into the United States and you're saying, I'm going there to do stand up comedy, and that's what you get through on the visa process, and then you get there and start secretly working for a TV show, you can get kicked out of the country because that's not what the visa was for, right? And to be able to say, hey, blanket, all these people can go in, well, that's where it crosses wires because comedians don't just do comedy. They also do TV writing. They also do acting, which are all different income streams. And that is something that is going to be a pain point just being like immigrants to America in that situation, right? So I don't know if it would be easier, to be honest. We can continue putting that as a part of the process, but I don't think there's going to be some sort of wide access thing available with the immigration. Yeah, it can kind of work like the musicians as one of the things that we have on the list of even reaching out to Factor themselves and like learning a little bit more about how they have set up their organization. But again, it's just there's some stuff that we need consultation on, so that's the next step to where we're at. But any of these suggestions, if you're like, hey, maybe we're not considering A, B, or C, we do not believe we're the authority on these things, and we are in partnership with our membership. So if you have ideas, if you're like, hey, maybe this would help the US chapter get up a little easier, or this would take away some friction, let us know what that is, right? Because we have a certain amount of ignorance around the issue because it's, none of us are immigration lawyers, but we're trying to figure it out, and that's where we're currently at on it. But it is looking like we have people in states that want to work with us and help us. And I think, yeah, the next conversation will be with the lawyer, essentially. So, but I would say if you have any questions or comments on this, because I know it's a big discussion, just save it for the Q&A and we will go through it. But I want to continue kind of moving things along because there are ways within our own country that we can be bolstering more of a community amongst ourselves in every single province. So that's where our ambassador program is getting reinvigorated. And Josh, I'm going to give it to you to talk about the ambassador program.
All right, thank you, Clifford. My name is Josh. I'm in all the way over in St. John, Newfoundland. So as Cliff here said, we are reactivating our ambassador program. We are so excited to do this to connect with smaller communities all over the country. So ambassadors we'd be looking for them to share Instagram and Facebook posts, and also the last Tuesday of every month we have our meeting, and we're adding a extra half an hour to the end of it to meet with all our ambassadors. So that will be, like I said, last Tuesday of every month between 6 and 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. So we would love to hear from you if you wish to be an ambassador. If you have any questions or concerns, we can answer them in Q&A. Or if you really you're ready to go, you want to be an ambassador, that'll be awesome. Please reach out and let us know. And that's all for me, and I'm going to bring it back to Robert.
Yes, hello. Yeah, and I just want to speak in support of that too. If you've been being a part of this meeting today and witnessing everything that we have to say at the board, and you want to dabble your toes, you're not into what it is that we do. Being a part of those that last half hour of our monthly meeting on last Tuesdays, becoming an ambassador. Is a great way to get more involved and just see what the board is up to as well. So thank you for that, Josh. The part that I am asked to talk about next is professional development and webinars. So you may have noticed since the beginning of this year, we've had 2 webinars already, and there are plans to have more. In January, we had the Comedy is Art State of the Industry webinar, which was fantastic. Cliff facilitated that, and we had Neil Bansell, Aliyah Razul, and Kyra Williams attend that, and it was great to just see all those different points of views. I believe that we should have, if we don't have that somewhere available to just watch, we will have that up very soon. And then likewise, we had it was just 2 weeks ago on April 14th, we had Casc, the CFU, and You, which was a seminar that describes exactly what it means to be a member of Casc and part of the CFU, and what benefits are involved, and how we as individual members can take advantage of those different benefits that are offered through the Canadian Freelance Union. And then the rest of the year, I definitely have some things. I've been given some suggestions through online from people already. But I am definitely very open, as is the rest of the board, to hear what do you want to see as part of professional development? What other webinars, what kind of knowledge would you like to be learning about and to help your career? And so I leave that open. Either put that in the chat and I'll keep note of it, or if it comes up in discussion, or if you just want to send an email or even just a DM to me, I will be happy to take those suggestions in and really start working with the rest of the board here to create those different webinars and professional development for you. And that said, I think I throw it back to Cliff, because I think we are actually almost at that last part of the meeting. Cliff, please take it away for us.
We're really sticking the landing with 15 minutes left to go. We got a Q&A. We'll allot that time for it. Two things I just want to comment on from both what Josh and Robert were talking about. So just sticking with the theme of talking about leverage within our organization, the ambassador program is going to be an incredible way to be able to do this on a micro level regionally, right? So it was great to see that Callie's interested in being an ambassador in Vancouver, right? But like, this is where we get more meetups and more opportunities for people to get together. This is going to be able to, you're going to be able to have more cross knowledge, create more opportunities. Education is power, and this is one of the things that, like, when I came on as president, I really discussed a lot about winning with education by empowering each other to learn the industry, the business, marketing, as we're continuing to learn our craft. And a big part of that is the community around this, right? Ambassadors are going to be massive, and the webinars are going to be huge. Being able to just leverage actual, like, boring shit that we don't want to learn because most of us are ADHD, but we got to figure this shit out now, right? So it's kind of really cool to see that we're really kind of turning into an organization that is just taking action and being able to empower people that maybe they didn't know these things before and now they do, and trying to ultimately help you grow your career and hopefully around you other people grow too. So we'll open the floor Q&A. Feel free. I believe, Raul, is there like a function where like people do a hand raise or something? What's the magic with this?
It's up to you. People could either raise their hand,
Okay, so let's go two ways. You can raise
or
your
you
hand.
can just put it into the chat if you have a question, or just speak up, whatever you want.
Well, I'll say raise your hand if you want to chat, or drop questions in the actual chat there. And we got a bit of time here, but I will say I am proud for everyone keeping their time. That feels really good.
And maybe just before the QA, if I could just say a couple of words around kind of the partnership. And okay, great. And then also maybe I'll turn over to Matt quickly. So I'm assuming everybody who's on the call is a member of Casc, and if not, please make sure to join. We need as many members as possible to contribute. I echo the board sentiment that, you know, you're working really hard. They're doing an amazing job, putting in lots of effort. The work is really going to make a difference. And through the partnership, I think we are starting to make a difference. So we're now at 1 year, pretty much May, of the partnership, and we're super excited. We're super excited around the launch of the white paper. Sorry, there's more people joining here. And so if you can get involved with Casc and the board, please do. If you don't have the time to get involved, because I know, you know, everybody's very busy, you know, please at a minimum share the information that Casc and we share on social media. Let your friends, families, and coworkers know that, you know, we're here as an organization and to join, because really the more people, the better, especially when we start to build some parliamentary work. And so just a reminder that your membership will be coming up for renewal next month for everybody who's probably on this call and who's a member. So please look out for those emails, rejoin. And if not, we'll also be calling you as well, just to remind you, but it's really important to be a member and to continue to support your board, who are doing an excellent job. Thank you. And I will put my contact information as the organizer, and Matt will put his contact information as member contact organizer, who can help you with any questions around benefits, any issues you're having. We'll definitely support you with that. Thank you.
Thanks, Raul. If I could just quickly piggyback off of what he said, just to emphasize that the partnership with the Canadian Freelance Union allows for a variety of services and offerings that folks on the call here can absolutely take advantage of. And so I will drop a link in the chat here where you can go to learn more information about all of that if you haven't checked it out already. And of course, if you have any questions or comments following that, by all means, feel free to reach out to myself or Raul to get those questions answered and make sure you're taking full advantage of what the partnership with the CFU has to offer.
Awesome. Now, Raul has put his email in the chat there. And okay, so if anyone wants to get in touch with Raul, feel free to do that. And Matt, are you going to put your email in the chat as well? Oh, awesome. Look at that. Great minds. All right, I'm going to read what Callie has said here. If you have any other questions, everyone, feel free to put them in there. Or
Actually, Cliff, maybe read the message first, because I don't know if it should be sort of discreet or not.
Oh, should it be discreet? Okay.
Yeah, that's why I
Okay.
sent it to you personally.
Oh, you sent it to me personally. Oh, okay, sorry. I thought everyone saw that. Okay, 1 second. Yeah, I don't actually know how to address that at the moment. Can you give me some time to take a look at it and send me your email and I'll get back to you? Does that work with you, Callie?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah? Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't have a ton of information on that, but I can ask the board afterwards. Yes, so does anyone have a question that's not in a direct message? Or well, feel free to put up your hand or whatnot. While I'm waiting to see if we have anyone that wants to pick our brains, I just want to reiterate that open board positions, ambassador positions, let's get involved. And I keep an open door policy. So if you're looking to have, any conversations of how you can be involved, like you want to be, but you're not sure how, let's talk. Let's grab a coffee chat and have those conversations. I would love to hear where you're at in your career and how we can help. Did you have another question, Callie?
Yeah, Raul, do you want to say something first?
No, go ahead, ask your question. I just have one more comment to add as well.
Well, just in general, sort of related to what I sent to Cliff, it's just about, I guess, business negotiating and setting kind of standards for how I think, how comedians should be paid, what they understand, how to value their own work and ensure that it is properly remunerated in the marketplaces. Because where I live, I'm still like I consider myself kind of pre-professional. I make a little bit of money at stand-up, but I'm not by any means a full professional comedian. And the vast majority of comedy that's produced in Vancouver is either unpaid or very minimally paid, for the most part. And people are just glad to have stage time, especially slightly longer sets. But I think that it would be good if comedians like me knew what is a proper and respectful standard, and if there's education around that in the comedian community, so there would be some consistency in us representing our interests in the market.
Yeah, so there is like what Joe put link to in the chat there. We do have guidelines for some basic standards, but something that you are bringing up in terms of like a bigger conversation, I think Robert, maybe you can note this down, is I think it's a good idea to have a webinar on this specifically, right? Because there's a lot of layers to it in terms of like, yeah, how do you set your price? How do you do it differently than others? You got to understand we're freelancers. Sometimes it will, people might buy in your credits, but maybe it's other leverage, right? Like it's not always experience. I can tell you, as someone with 17 years experience, I still get asked to do $100 at a grade 4 birthday party. So like there's going to be a lot of discrepancies. And in terms of like IP, like in ways you can make more money off of comedy, like royalties and stuff like that, this is still a structural issue in Canada, right? Where even like the top comedians are struggling with it on platforms like Spotify. and getting proper publishing rights and stuff like that. So there's different layers to it at different levels. Like there's obviously your level. It's great to look at what the standard rates are and kind of understand that, but there's a lot more nuances and how do you have these conversations? How do you present your rates? And that's a lot of like stakeholder management and that kind of stuff. So maybe that would be a great webinar to have where we have a few people from a few different aspects of the industry kind of weighing in on it, because that's something that we can have as a forever asset, right? Just like these AGMs, we record them and put them online. We want all this information to be open source, right? We want everyone to have access to this. We're not gatekeepers, even though we're a membership. We want Canadian comedians to thrive whether or not they're in this organization. So something like that would be a great asset. I think it's something we can build towards. And if you ever have questions too, feel free to throw it my way or any of the board. We'll always be at least hungry to look for the answer, because then if other people have the question, it's most likely like, hey, we got the answer for you and we can provide it for everyone. So we like to kind of siphon it back. Yeah, Simon saying it's always been a race to the bottom, no standard. You can tell Simon's been at this for a while. He can always share his experience and opinions of asking for money. But Simon gets paid the big bucks. He has the Spider-Man tie, and we love him for that. But it takes you a while to get there. But yes, so Simon, I share your sentiment, man. 48 years. I wasn't gonna say it. I wasn't gonna out you like that. But I share the sentiment. It's been historically a race to the bottom. The ceiling's been very low in Canada. We have the internet. We have a lot of change happening. Just like we spoke about last year, we don't know how industries and markets are changing right now. And the world 5 years from now and 10 years from now is not the world we know today, and won't be. Right. So that's something that we are also just we're just trying to be flexible with change, like as it comes to, right? And that's something that I think is a very comedian thing. Like we know how to adapt. It's literally what we do. We go in different environments with different pressures and different factors, and we adapt to what's in front of us. And we're going to do that as an organization. So if you have like any other questions that maybe we haven't really touched on and stuff, I would definitely recommend just sending it to our email. We can bring it up at a board meeting, and we can always answer it in a social post. Robert's been doing a great job on passing some social posts ahead and all that kind of great stuff. And we are continuing to try to get work for corporates within Unifor, and we'll continue to send out information about that kind of stuff. So there's lots to go on, but I will say, like, we're pretty close here, 3:57. Is there anything anyone else would want to say right before we close things up here?
The only thing I would just add is that also, members here can also be part of the Unifor Executive Board and can also join the Canadian Freelance Union. So if anybody's interested in being part of the board and being part of the union structure, we have positions open in Vancouver and Ontario. We'll have an AGM in December, similar to this one, end of November. And of course, anybody who's a member can run for any of the boards, any of the committees or boards within the CFU as well.
Awesome. And I think I saw Daryl. Did you want to say a word?
Yeah, just one quick thing. I'm in the UK right now, and they're going through the same thing we are, trying to make comedy art and everything. So I think if you're not already friends with them, Live Comedy UK on Instagram, go check out what they do, because they are exactly where we're at. And they're doing things like, National Comedy Day and stuff like that to promote comedy in the UK. And it's a much bigger industry here, and they still can't get recognition from the government. So it's not just a Canada thing, it's an international thing. So maybe just reach out to them and maybe try to take some ideas from them, because they're working just as hard as you guys, and it's an international thing,
Oh, absolutely. We did meet with some people from the UK, I believe, British Comedy, whatever that website is. Like, I forget the name of it. It's like a blog. But we were talking to, I believe, some people from Ireland as well, and South Africa. There's various people that have reached out to our organization saying, hey, we want to do this in our community too. And some are ahead and some are further. And in the conversations of getting a US chapter, we do think internationally, and like I would love to open source anything we learn, so people over at the UK Comedy Live, they're able to benefit from it, but hopefully we can benefit from their information as well. So this sounds like yeah, it sounds like a good people to talk to, potentially partner with. And I do think like that's a really good point, Daryl, that this isn't an isolated Canadian problem. Like we've literally like South Africa, Ireland, and England, I know are all dealing with the same thing. So like and other places just maybe don't have the talent or that kind of stuff. But to Daryl's point, UK has a bigger industry than us, right? They have like the way their BBC works, they have multiple channels, multiple panel shows, short order runs, better funding, right? They have a better like way of actually giving people names where it doesn't work the same here. Unless your name is Rick Mercer, then you're good to go. But no shade, but shade. So like yeah, that's definitely worth talking about. And Callie, we'll make you the last question here.
I'll go on video. So we've had, I think the issue of employment standards. I would like to know what the organization thinks about that, if possible, because there's been a lot of sexual harassment of young and female comedians in the Vancouver comedy scene. It's pretty much par for the course, and I think it causes women to leave comedy. And there was a sexual assault. It was actually 12 years ago, but it's been working its way through the courts. A comedian allegedly sexually assaulted another comedian, and it just sort of came. A decision came down a few weeks ago. It was quite devastating, and it was revealed. I don't know that the person who was accused said that one of the major comedy owners in Canada circulated a letter to all the bookers in Canada discrediting the woman's account of sexual assault by one of his roster comedians. So, like I feel like because we work in bars, it's really, really blurry around employment standards. Because we work in a social art form too, there's a lot of like social mixing, but sometimes because of the overwhelming amount of men kind of in our field and the relatively few amount of women, that it can create and plus, I mean, I'm sure it goes along lines of racism or other forms of unfair social content. Anyway, I'm wondering if the organization has ever addressed that or had policy or suggestions around standards.
Yeah, I can definitely speak to this, and obviously it's a sensitive subject, so I'll do my best to address it properly, right? But one of the things that like us as an organization are able to, we're able to advocate for certain things, and maybe Raul can talk about the limits of the grievance process within Unifor, and like what we can actually apply for grievances and what we can't. But there is a reality that one of the things that we've discussed a lot of is Casc itself doesn't, we're not in an authoritative body, right? We don't get to play comedy police or anything like that. We don't get to instill any kind of standards to other people's businesses because each business is individual, right? And then there's certain things that you're able to do to advocate against businesses, and that's why I want to talk to Raul about the grievances, and what that could look like. There is also efforts being made to try to help with safety within the industry. Like for example, Adam Grow with CamCon, you can apply for micro grants that would, like, for example, if you're a female comedian but you don't want to share a comedy condo with a male comedian because you feel uncomfortable or for whatever reason, it doesn't even have to be anything to do with the other comedian. That you can have some funding in place so you can afford a hotel room instead of having to share a condo. Like certain things like that are like obviously red flags in our industry that are not making things as equal as they could be, right? And being able to afford people that don't feel safe the ability to have funding to be in a better position. That's something that CamCom has been working towards on micro grants. And then in terms of how you can be represented or supported, I'm going to ask Raul if he can talk a little bit about the grievances in Unifor. But I just want to state, like, as an organization, like, it's one of those things where we have policies, we have mandates that we follow, we have suggestions, but we don't have any kind of authoritative push when it comes to other people's businesses. What we are able to do is meet with those businesses, talk to them, talk about policy. We have influenced businesses in their policy. When we had that situation with that Keenan Comedy Festival, the bar owner was in conversation with us, same with the producer. I had a conversation with all of those stakeholders at that time to try to resolve that. And that was not something that we had any authority over, but it was something that we had privy to have a conversation, to have a voice in. And that's the one thing we do have is like, so I never want you to think that a concern is not going to have a voice at the table, but just know there is a gap between what we can influence and what we can't. So Raul, could you talk a little bit about the grievance process just to give Callie a bit more understanding of what the scope looks like? You got to be off mute there. Oh, you're still on mute, Raul.
Yeah, sorry about that. I clicked it a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of grievances, we certainly can support any member who has any issues with the club, who experienced any kind of harassment. Absolutely, we're here to support. It's usually individual based, and it's confidential, and we take the action based on what the individual wants to do. Obviously, if there is criminal activity, then that's a matter for the police. It's not something that we can get involved in. But if it's anything that we can support the member in terms of it could be in terms of more personal first, in terms of whether getting the letter to the comedy bar. If there are specific comedy bars or individuals that are targeting people in a negative way, then even from that perspective, if we have members who want to do a campaign around that, we're more than happy. It could be private letter, phone call to something public. If people deem that within the legal ramification, obviously nobody wants to get sued by saying anything that's not can't be backed up. But in terms of campaigns of safe bars to work at or whatever, safe environments or whatever, we certainly can do that from whether it's a public campaign in conjunction with Casc or supporting a member individually and more confidential. So each case we take depending on the case, and we work with the individual. We go as far and we push as hard as the individual wants, right? So some people don't want to ruin relationships within the sector. So obviously, we walk a much more fine line. Others are like, here, I don't really care. This is something that, I want to, I have more of a moral issue here, and we need to push really hard, and we're more than happy to do that. So we really take the lead from the member in terms of the grievance and support. So we certainly can help, from that perspective, even if we have to have, some legal support. We don't provide legal support for anybody. We have to be clear. We're not lawyers, and Unifor doesn't take legal support members, but we can just consult and say, like, this is what we got as advice. But again, it's up to you to decide what you want to do. But absolutely, we're there to support members for anything to do with work-related issue. Absolutely. Just let us know. You can reach out to me on that. We have a grievance process on our website. Oh yeah, it's anonymous. You just fill out the information. If you want to put your information there for us to contact you, we have a one-on-one with our grievance team. And again, we keep all that confidential until the individual is ready to do whatever they want to do with that.
Yes, and Joe also put information in the chat about Haven. So the Haven Helpline is a counseling and support service that we are partnered with as well. And to Doug's point about ACTRA, earlier Robert mentioned that we are trying to get more Flies with Honey and create partnerships. ACTRA is one of those people that we want to learn from. We want to work with them, like especially as they have their own internal grievances and stuff like that. So yeah, finding out their expertise in this area would be really great, and maybe a great talking point for us as we're trying to introduce ourselves. We've reached out to them. We've reached out to Just for Laughs, various organizations that we just want healthy relationships with. Timing is a thing, but I don't want you to think that there's no pathway for this stuff, Callie, but it's also limited depending on like the bodies and what we can do legally.
Yeah, I like I totally appreciate what you're saying. Like, it's not about authority. I'm not seeking authority, but I'm seeking a vision or standards in a way of like I liked what you said, Raw. Like maybe there could be a safe bar pledge. Like this is a list of bars that have committed to ensuring performer safety under their auspices or whatever. And so that list, we could create, what does performance safety look like, standards, employee safety based on, we have Work BC here, right around like those policies, because it's just completely, there's no, like, it's kind of a free-for-all here socially, like, but it's a workplace. So it's a potentially, weird mix of like your livelihood and then personal interest, like it's kind of a mess, and I think people should be clear,
Yeah,
So yeah, I'd be happy to work on like any kind of like a pledge or what's a safe work standard.
Yes, of course. And I am very excited that you said earlier you're considering the ambassador program, because that means you would actually get to be at our team meetings as well. So maybe this is something we can actually bring up at the next board meeting as a potential initiative. Talk about the angles, talk about what we can look at, what's going to be most beneficial for all communities across the board, and also yeah, like how we can help. We're always going to be open to looking into how we can influence these things. We're just also hyper aware that we have a limited scope sometimes, even of just what sometimes it just requires more research, and all of us have other jobs and do other things, so it's like, it gets logistical at times. But with that said, Callie, I very much appreciate you bringing that up, and I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here, and thank you for Raul for setting this up, and is going to record this and put it out there for everyone. So any questions, feel free to hit us up. I'm Clifford Myers on all the things, and lots of thumbs up. So thank you so much. This was a great AGM, and I appreciate your questions and everyone putting everything forward. Let's get another year of casking it up. And thanks again to Joe for all her work over the years. And thank you to the board and members, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Later, y'all. Bye, Jojo.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Clifford.
See you. Take care.